Hello, my name is Karl. Carl Childers. I reckon you want to know the story of how Jean Grey died. It's happened quite a many times, but we're going to talk about the time that it happened in the Uncanny X-Men number 137. Well, the story starts off the Watcher giving a history of Jean Grey, and he starts off by talking about when she was born, how she wasn't no bigger than a squirrel. On to how she became an X-Man, and then the Phoenix, and then the Dark Phoenix. Now the Watcher, he's quite a funny looking feller. Not funny hop, funny weird. He looks like a man with a gargantuan baby head. Now we skip ahead onto the story, and we see the X-Men have been teleported into one of Shi'ar's spaceships. They're all gasping and wondering what's happened and how they got there and whatnot like that. I reckon there's a little frightening stuff too. They're being talked to by the Gladiator and the Shi'ar Empress, Lilandra. She got a funny looking hat on. Her and Charles had a thing going on there a long time ago. I reckon they still might have feelings for one another. Well, they was wanting to go ahead and kill Jean Grey off, and then they was all the X-Men was wondering why they was wanting to do it. It's because when Jean Grey had turned into the Dark Phoenix issues back, she had gotten mighty hungry, I reckon. There wasn't no biscuits and mustard around, so she ate a star. Some people likes to say consume, I like to say eats. Well, when she eaten that star, it killed off a galaxy of about 5 billion people. That's billions with a B. So they figured the old Dark Phoenix had done gotten too much for Jean Grey, and they just gonna have to go on and off her. Well, the X-Men, they wasn't having it. First of all, they didn't understand why Jean would have done something like that. And then they didn't know whether or not they should help their friend Jean or not. But Charles stood plumb behind her. Actually, he sat. He can't stand, but you get what I'm saying. And he sat there and called for a parlay. Challenged him to a duel. Lilandra went and talked it over with the Supreme Intelligence and the Empress of the Scrolls. They said they was alright with the challenge, as long as it was rigged. Sounds a little dirty to me. So the X-Men get teleported to a section of the moon called the blue side of the moon. There's all kinds of buildings and whatnot carved out of the rocks and things built up around it. Looks like an old city. Well, I reckon they thought it was a good idea to split up into the groups. So they split up into two groups. You got one that I'm going to call the old X-Men group, and that's Cyclops, and Jean Grey, and Angel, and Nightcrawler. I know Nightcrawler's not of the old X-Men group, but that's mostly the old X-Men in that team. And then the other team we're going to call the new X-Men group, and you got Colossus, and Wolverine, and Storm, and Beast. I know Beast ain't a new X-Men, he's an old X-Men, but most of them people's new X-Men in that group. Well, that new X-Men team is the first ones to come in contact with the Imperial Guard. They wind up facing these new characters we ain't seen before. Starbolt, Oracle, Smasher, and Manta. We don't get too big of a glimpse as to what's going on, and we skip on over to the new X-Men, and they come in contact with the Imperial Guard as well. They come in contact with this team that calls themselves War Star, and the characters within War Star are Beanie and Cassell. Cassell's a little small wiry thing. He got a lot of energy in him, it looked like. Well, I guess the Guardian, he didn't like the odds for old War Star, so he came in, took the floor out from underneath Storm and Wolverine. They went to tumbling down. Fell all the way down to another sub-level where they met up with a character named Earthquake. Even though they's on the moon, he's called Earthquake. I'm sorry, I didn't write that one. Well, old Wolverine, he stumbled and fell through a wall. And it was all up to her war after that to be able to take on old Earthquake. She was doing right good as well, too. She was throwing paved stones at old Earthquake, and he just couldn't handle it. Till up behind her come this other character we ain't seen before called her Sar. She whipped her around the throat. I don't know if she plumb near cut her head off or not, but it doesn't look too good. Well, Earthquake throws paved stones right back at her. And she gets knocked out. And then we switch back over to the old X-Men group, and they're still fighting on against Starbolt, Oracle, Smasher, and Manta. Old Oracle messes with Angel's mind, gets him all disoriented. This gives Smasher the opportunity to throw him down in a hole. I don't reckon I really understand how you can throw him in a hole because they in space, but, you know, like I said, I ain't write this. Nightcrawler goes jumping in after him, hoping that he can teleport right there where Round Angel is and save him. And then we cut on over to Wolverine. He's walking around this house, runs into the Watcher. This is the first one that's seen him. The Watcher ain't too happy that he's inside his house, telling him to get out. Wolverine said he was tired of people telling him to get out. Watcher kicked him out anyways. Didn't offer him no mushroom biscuits or anything. It's mighty rude if you ask me. Well, once he gets his senses back, he sees Storm coming over the debris to come over there and help him. But he says that something ain't right. He took old Storm and flung her up over his head into a wall. Winds up being this scroll named Raxor. He wasn't too happy that Wolverine found out who he was and threw him up against the wall. While Wolverine's about to finish that scroll off, when this Kree warrior come around the corner, blasts old Wolverine. Nightcrawler didn't get the Angel in time, it seems like, but he does find Manta. Decides he's gonna start following her. Thinks he can stay in the shadows, but she's got infrared vision, and she spots him, blasts him, knocks him clear out. We see in the background a panel right there that she's not only got Nightcrawler now, but she's got Angel too. It's not looking too good for the X-Men right now. Looks like 3 members have got. New X-Men crew's doing. You got Colossus throwing old War Star around into some bricks and whatnot. Well, I guess old Sickle had had enough of it. He shocks old Beast, takes him out. Gladiator decides he's going to come over there and have his way with old Colossus. They sit there and they go toe to toe and hitting each other, one after another, just trading licks till a building around them collapses, and only one of them comes out alive. Well, only one of them comes out conscious, and that's a Gladiator. Charles is looking on with sad eyes. He ain't happy about the situation at all. I reckon I wouldn't be neither. Well, now it's just Jean and Scott, and they're sitting there fighting off the people around them. They decide they're gonna get in this little cavern and hide. Jean pulls some moon dust up over like a door or a curtain. They sit there and have a little heart-to-heart with one another, trying to regroup. Scott sits there and tells Jean, that they made friends and all. They've always been good together. Well, they decided they was going to take on Oracle, Starbolt, and Smasher together. And then about that time, Jean's inner Phoenix had done had enough. And she decided she was going to come out. Plumb there blasted a hole right through the Shi'ar Empire ship, the Dreadnought. Where's Jean all in her Phoenix glory? Charles realizes what he's done ain't helped Jean out at all, and he just can't deal with the Phoenix. So he starts summoning all the X-Men to sit there, come out and help, and to take out old Jean. He starts with Scott first, telling Scott he's got to attack her. Well, old Scott's seen red. Quite literally, he's got an optic blast that's red. He blasted a building that was around the Phoenix, taking it down, having it tumble on top of her. The Phoenix tried to sit there and hold as much of the rubble as she could, but it still knocked her to her knees. Storm comes around the corner. She's all tattered and bruised up, but she's still got enough in her to start a tornado around old Jean, throwing some of that rubble and whatnot around, getting her all disoriented. Wolverine has a great idea that because they're outside in outer space, that he can pick old Colossus up, and he does. They do a reverse fastball special. Colossus changes into his metal form and clobbers old Jean Grey. Luckily, though, he pulled his punch from what she says, and it was just enough to knock her to her senses, not knock her head plumb clean off. She begs him to kill her because she knows that she can't deal with this Phoenix anymore. Scott pleads for her to just talk and maybe they can come up with something, but Jean knows she can't do it. She's turning more and more into the Dark Phoenix now. They get off into a room and she paralyzes over Scott so he can't move around, but they can talk. And she goes just far enough in where there's an engine in there. She goes in there where that engine is and blows herself up. Scott get to hollering, "What'd you kill yourself for? What'd you kill yourself for?" But then he put two and two together, realized that old Jean had planned this the whole time. Knew that they probably wasn't going to kill her or Scott or anybody else. So she decided she was going to do it on her own terms. Moral of the story is, don't let your friends get possessed by alien spirits. You may have to go on the moon and fight for them.